Have you ever sat at home watching gymnasts and figure skaters at the Olympics and wondered, how on earth do they do that? I certainly have. As a dancer, how could I not? How are they able to reach the level of flexibility they're at and make it look completely effortless? Is the process the same for all of them? Is there one set method, or is each person unique in how they achieve this flexibility? Do some of them just have a natural advantage? Well, I'm here today to hopefully help explain away some of these questions, along with the biggest question of all. Is flexibility genetic or achieved through persistence and effort? Both genes and physical dedication have an impact on a person's flexibility, but stretching can only take someone so far if they do not have the genes pertaining to advanced flexibility. Stretching regularly is just as important though, because without stretching, your body loses the easy access it has to those abilities. People have been active beings since the beginning of time. We have always needed at least some sense of agility in order to function, whether it be for running, hunting, climbing, or simply for entertainment purposes. There is no explicitly documented time for when people began to question the causes for flexibility, but a likely time was probably 1896 during the first Olympic Games, in which gymnastics was entered as one of the categories. There is also an important element of different joint and muscle functions that go into it. Dynamic flexibility is the ability to move joints to the maximum of their allowed range of motion. Static flexibility is the ability to maintain a position for extended periods of time without any external support. There are multiple types of joints, such as ball and socket joints, which allow for forward, backwards, sideways, and rotating movement. Another joint is a hinge joint, which allows for bending and extending. After that are pivot joints, which allow for limited rotation. Lastly is ellipsoidal joints, which allow for all types of movement except pivotal. Almost everyone has these joints to work with, but what some can achieve can be different than what others can. The person I interviewed is my professionally trained dance teacher, and when I told her my hypothesis, she said she agreed with me entirely. She has seen people who come in and are just naturally flexible and can just do things right off the bat, and she's seen people who are very stiff naturally, but she has also seen those same people achieve the same things the naturally flexible people have due to hard work and perseverance. I've been dancing for 15 years, and throughout the years I've seen plenty of people come and go, and I've watched them develop as dancers. For example, there was a girl who used to be on my dance team, who was one of the most naturally stiff people I had ever met, but also one of the most determined. By the end of her time at the studio, she was able to do everything the more naturally flexible people could do. She just had to work harder for it, showing that regularly practicing stretching leads to the end goal of achieving a greater range of movement. I got some of my friends together during a dance competition to show that people can be at varying levels of flexibility, even with the same amount of training. They were very excited to do this, and I think it definitely shows throughout the video.
Okay, I'm Lauren. I'm Sana.
And we've all been dancing for a very long time, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to demonstrate that even though we've been dancing for a really long time and had the same amount of training, some people are just naturally more flexible than others. Right, whichever one.
Hold on, man. I have my shoes on. I need to stretch today.
See, neither of them are on the ground. There are some things that we can all easily achieve due to training, like a back bend.
Okay, you go. Watch out.
And then there are things like the middle splits that seem to have been left up to genetics.
We're gonna get this today. This is gonna be the day. Yeah, I can't go. All right. All right. Please, I can't do this anymore. Izzy, I want to quit. Oh yes, Sana, get it. Oh, she's doing it out.
You can get up now.
Ready? See, look, I'm holding it.
Okay, just do this.
Okay, I can kind of do that.
I can do that for 1 second and you can't do it.
Oh, my back. Hold on, ready? I did it. Go, Sana. Now.
Next, what's next?
Pull through.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
We can all achieve scorpions, but it's easier for some more than others.
That was bad. Go ahead, Mom. Hey, I'm just gonna take off my shoes. Set, go.
I don't know.
Whee! Ow! Oh, my toe! Oh, my foot's good.
There was also an experiment done by PAN, the Physical Activity and Nutrition Journal launched by the Korean Society of Exercise and Nutrition in 1997, which came to the conclusion that those presenting with the ACTN3 gene were able to produce more of the alpha-actin protein, which is the protein that gives structure to muscle, in turn making them less flexible. But flexibility was still very possible to achieve through hard work and perseverance. Some may argue that if you're born stiff, you're destined to stay stiff, because there is no easily accessible way to change your genetics. While I would agree that there is no easily accessible way to change your genetics, that does not mean that if you're born with a stiff gene, you're bound to be stiff no matter what. It is very possible to work hard and stretch daily, ultimately achieving the desired or close to desired level of flexibility someone might want for various sports. The physical advantage some have over others does not necessarily have an easy solution to the problem, unless it involves altering genetics for something that ultimately is not worth altering genetics for. In some areas, like dancing, for example, I wouldn't consider it to be much of a problem at all. My dance teacher's daughter is one of the stiffest people I've ever met, if not the stiffest person I've ever met, and had to undergo surgery due to scoliosis. But she is still one of the best dancers I have ever met, purely because of natural talent. There is more to dancing than just being flexible. The only realistic way to bypass this if one wants to achieve it is to stretch every day, and that does not just go for the naturally stiff people. To stay good at something, it is key to maintain a steady routine in order to achieve consistency. Thank you for listening to my project. I hope I achieved my goal in answering the questions from the beginning.